All right, Rebecca, you took the test a little while ago. How did your exam go?
It went really well, considering all the stress and anxiety I had prior to taking it. I actually got 4 above targets and 1 at target. So, but I will say when I was taking it, it was one of those things where I had no idea.
How you were
I was like, I totally bombed it. I totally bombed it.
doing? The
So,
people that score the best often think like, oh, no, no, no. I think that might be like one of the reasons why they score the best is because they're always trying to like better, better, better. So who
right.
knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So everybody's got a little journey. What's your like short version journey of like how you got to be the PMP? I guess.
So the short version is I wanted to get my PMP a few years ago.
Mhm.
And then, so back, I took my first boot camp was 20, was at least 2 years ago. So like 2018, summer of 2018.
Jesus.
And I was in a position where I just didn't have the time. I didn't
Yeah.
have the time to do it. And so even though I was managing projects and managing people, I just didn't have time to do it. So I was managed to switch positions last year and become a full-time project manager. And
Right on.
so that kind of was like, okay, well now you have to do it. And then of course with the exam changing next year, right? So
Mhm.
that was my final straw. Kind of, I had to do it this year.
That's
So
awesome.
even I was like, well, what a better time to do it than the pandemic. So
Yeah, yeah, that's what everybody feels. So that's cool. So we haven't known each other for that long. We got hooked up late in the game, but
Mhm.
you went through accelerator videos and coaching and stuff like that.
Yes.
What role do you think those played in helping you pass?
Well, I think it finally was that thing that like made it all kind of click together. I mean, trying to realizing that just doing the memorization wasn't really working. And some of the other boot camp material, I was, trying to use that and then looking at doing some of the practice tests. It just wasn't quite clicking the way it needed to,
Mhm.
but it was really just the whole like life cycle thing. And really learning, just your methods and a different way of looking at it just really kind of made it like finally made sense. So
That's cool.
it's the
Well,
best way to put it.
yeah,
So
well, that's the goal. If it can finally make sense, then you can finally, do well in the exam. So that's
right.
cool. So there's a lot of people out there that are, hustling at the end of the
Mhm.
year, trying to get this done, and they got like mountains of materials, and the internet says a
Right.
bajillion things. Is there
Right.
anything now that you've passed it, you've done well, you know how things make sense that you see or hear like in past boot camps or in the internet
Mhm.
machine, like that you're like, no, 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 don't do that. Like this is wrong. Like, what do you think?
Right. I mean, I really think just, I was probably overdoing it a little bit on certain things, like
Mhm.
too much, too many different kind of like, let me try this exam prep material, let me try this stuff. I would say pick one and go with it. And
Yeah.
then um and then I did finally took the practice PMI test, and that really, I was like, oh, okay, so it made it kind of validated some of the other exam
Hmm.
prep materials and the other practice tests. So that made sense. But I
That's
think at
cool.
one point in time, I was like using 4 different, like I was using this one book and then I was reading this other book. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's too much. You really just got to focus on one thing and really understand it and then move forward.
Well, that's cool. All right. So now that like we went through, help stuff make sense and flow through, get into some like feeling about how to solve questions. How did you manage yourself during the exam? A lot of people are like 4 hours, even though they got a split in the middle now, they kind of like get worn out or, get lost, get confused. Like, how did you manage yourself to get 4 above targets?
Right. So I literally just followed, I believe it's your strategy.
Yeah, there you go. Let's
Memory, like,
call it,
right.
let's claim it.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to do the first 20
Yeah.
questions and get a good timing on that. And then from there, I did, okay, I mean, I just got to get through the first 100. Like I just took it in
Hmm.
spurts and like, did 50 questions and I'm like, okay. And then at 100. But I actually it wasn't anywhere near 4 hours for me. So
How long
it
did
was,
it take you?
I think it was closer to like 3:15.
Dude, that
Um,
is fast.
yeah,
That's fast.
so I don't know. I think one of the things I will say I was not expecting. I was expecting my questions to be a lot longer, and they were rather short. So
Right.
if you're a fast reader, you gotta use your method and actually slow yourself way, way, way down,
Yeah.
right? Read the last part and then go back and really focus. And then that gives you the time to really read each answer and narrow it down. So
That's cool. That's cool. Why did you get the PMP to begin with?
Well, I don't know. I just feel like it would make me a better project manager. And
Okay.
it is one of the standards, so one of those things, like, if sometimes if somebody says something's really, really challenging, hey, you want to see if you can do it. So
So
why not?
did it make you a better project manager?
I mean, I think it has. I like to do things like by the book and with rules and framework around them. And so I'd say that's definitely helped me.
That's awesome.
Whether everybody listens to you all the time is another story.
That's I don't even listen to myself half the time. So we're good to go. Yeah. So that's good. That's awesome. All right. So there's a lot of people that are out there like you and they want to be successful. And so they probably, got stacks of book, like we said, and all these different things. Like, outside of just picking one source and going forward, what would be your recommendation for those people that might feel like apprehensive now, or they're just scared, or they said, I'll wait till later? Like, what would be your recommendation for those kind of folks?
I mean, I would just go ahead and do it. But I think the thing that was weird for me is, like, from a study prep, like, it's been a long time since I've taken any really big exam like this. And so I felt like using the videos, like it actually never occurred to me to watch videos to study, right? Even though that seems really logical now, like to watch someone else teach it. But I'm so used to, like, I'd taken the boot camp in person, and then now I'm like, okay, this makes perfect sense because we're all like virtual. So I'm like, okay, but that different kind of study material really helps. And that way I'm not like, I could sit and take notes, but it took me away, actually could sit at a TV and do it versus like sitting straight at a desk, in front of a computer all day. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think if you're nervous, I did talk to some people who had taken it before, like, and I knew them personally, to get some insight, and to me, there wasn't really a failure. It was like, just try it, see what happens, try it. And then if first you don't succeed, try again. I mean, don't worry about it. So
there you go. And so before I let you go, like you said, some of the different ways, like, like a lot of the live online where you like sit there and you're like, a lot of times I think, I don't know if this is the way you felt. It's like someone's talking to you and it's literally live. I don't know that it's good because, a lot of times they lock down the chat. You can't say anything. It's just like a freight train of information coming at you that's bad. And a lot of times in classes, I'll even find myself, if I was taking a class back in the day or see other people, that they become transcribers, where they're just like whatever those stenographers. And you're like, you're not even listening. You're just trying to stenographication it down, whatever that word is. How did the videos or what about the different ways of learning helped you? Like, what about the things in the accelerated help do it for you?
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I first got I was like, I found your book on Audible, and I was like, well, if nothing else, like my investment would be in an Audible for a month, and I can listen to the book and it'll take me like 15 hours or whatever. And I'll at least have this method and see if it makes sense. And that won't take any time, because I felt like going back and reading some of my other boot camp stuff was just taking too long. So I think the videos are just nice, shorter increments of learning. Right. And I think that's how people generally are these days. Our attention span is so much shorter, having that shorter increment, being able to pause it, right? Take a break, whatever, come back to it, rewind it, that kind of thing, I think definitely helped. But yeah, it's just, it's different to see somebody talking about it and doing the graphic and the visual representation, as opposed to, just reading it over and over. You're like, okay, you can read the same words over and over and they still may never click. So
yeah, it's weird, like intonation or whatever those things are, like emphasizing different things. And and then one of the things with the live online is, not to get into like teaching philosophy, one of the things that worries me about PMI is changing that they're making to make me do certain things. But it's like, teaching to a big room is different than teaching to an individual. And I think
Mhm.
like a lot of times when my videos go, what I'm trying to do in my head is like, I mean, I'm teaching to you,
Right.
like an individual. And
Mhm.
so, because you don't care what the other people are thinking, like
Right.
it's just a
I'm
different
worried about me.
me. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
I can talk directly to you like, hey, do you understand this? Like this is where it's
Right.
going. And I can slow down instead of having to look at 40 faces on a Zoom thing and be like, that person's
Right.
nodding off that. I got to work the room instead of work the person. So
Right.
it's a big deal. I don't think
Yeah.
people have thought through that. That's cool. All right. So now they know kind of like if, if they're like us, like short attention spans, like there's a
Mhm.
different way to go. Cool. So I really, really appreciate all the insights you provided and jumping on this call,
Sure.
yeah. And it's just another success. And I'm really excited. What's next for you? Like you said, taking on crazy things, like what's next? Anything?
I have not decided. I'm sure I'll try for some other certification,
All right.
and I'll
Cool.
probably give myself a year, 6 months. So,
All right, cool.
yeah,
Well, Rebecca, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for the time. And yeah, good job.
sure. Thank
Yeah,
you.
right on. Bye-bye.
Bye.